crashed into Monique Munoz.
Woman demanding justice for their daughter. She was killed in a car crash with a teenage driver behind the wheel of a Lamborghini. They're wondering what is taking so long for this teenager to be charged. ABC's Zorian Shah is in Los Angeles on this story. Zorian, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. This is a spot where police say a 17-year-old's Lamborghini crashed into Monique Munoz, killing the 32-year-old when she was on her way back from work. You can see flowers and candles right behind me. Her parents now speaking out. They are pleading for the person they believe is responsible to be held accountable. This morning, Monique Munoz's parents calling for justice after laying their only daughter to rest.
She was an angel. She had a heart of gold. She deserves to have justice.
3 weeks ago, the 32-year-old UCLA clinic receptionist was killed driving home. According to LAPD, Munoz attempted making a left turn when a black Lamborghini SUV crashed into her.
The hardest thing for me was I didn't get to go shopping with her for a wedding dress. Instead, I had to find an outfit for her to be buried in.
The car's unrecognizable. Carol and Isaac Cardona faced with a parent's nightmare.
He pulls her license from his top left pocket, puts it on the table, pushes it towards me and my wife. He said, "I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, but your daughter was killed in a car accident." My heart was torn out.
The Lamborghini driver, reported to be a 17-year-old, transported to a hospital and arrested on suspicion of vehicular manslaughter. No official charges have been brought, but the Cardonas desperate for answers.
You were a 17-year-old kid driving an adult car, acting like an adult. You should be tried as an adult.
You haven't been contacted directly by police or by the DA?
Not at all. And that's really frustrating. It angers me.
The LA District Attorney's Office say Monique's death is a giant loss for all Angelenos, and the case is under review, adding because of the teen's juvenile status, no other information could be given. One factor officials will consider is how fast the cars were going.
The investigation would not only look at the speed at which the teenagers was traveling, but also if there were other vehicles involved.
The Urus, which Lamborghini dubbed the world's first super sport utility vehicle, is capable of reaching 305 miles per hour.
Hello, Chris. How are you? Yeah, I'm doing fine. My tenant tells me that he is dropping water in his swimming pool, and we'd like to know whether or not this is something that you could check. We don't think it's in the swimming pool itself, it's in the pipeline. That's what somebody tells me, the tenant tells me.
Okay, well, we don't do the pool, because it takes a lot of different plugs and stuff.
Okay.
I can refer you to somebody.
I am ready to, yeah, I'm ready to take the information.
Okay, 408
408
265
265
5521.
5521. Okay, and do you have a name for the guy?
Yeah, well, it's AB Pool Service.
A as in Apple David?
Apple Boy.
Apple Boy, AB Pool Service. Got it. Okay, how you doing? Keeping busy? All right. The gentleman you sent over to my other property, he's such a nice guy. I really enjoyed working with him. He was very nice. I just want to let you know. All right. Thank you so much. My pleasure. Take care. Bye, Chris. Thank you.
In nearly 4 seconds, the teen's father, a wealthy entrepreneur, not commenting on the case, but addressing the family's loss.
I am very, very sorry. And no words can say how sorry I am, because those are just words.
Monique's parents tell me she dreamed of being a social worker. She was always helping others. Her goal, they say, was to help juveniles. Wait.
And our hearts go out to that family, all right? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I heard from at least one person. How about the rest of you guys?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Very good. So we have about 18 people online so far. Are there any students in here? Boris, is that you? I only see the first name.
Yes. Hi,
Okay.
hi, Professor Burris.
Thank you
Hi,
so
Dr.
much.
Burris.
Boris. Akshay, are you a student?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm with Boris and co-captain of the flight team.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. So how many other students do we have here? That's a good turnout. I'm very happy to see 19 students so far, participants. Okay, so everyone, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through the list and call your name, and then hopefully you can show your faces, please. And we'd like to find out which school you're coming from and what your interest would be. Nick, thank you so much for showing your face. So why don't we start with you? Tell us about yourself. Are you an incoming freshman?
Hi. So yes, my name is Nick Fenton. I am yes, I'll be a freshman this fall. I'm in the aviation program. I've been a flight enthusiast for many, many years. Grew up seeing airplanes near my house, and I already have my private pilot's license.
Wonderful. So you're going to join us as a freshman in the fall, right?
Yes, correct.
Well, we can't wait to have you here. So question number 2, where do you live? Where is your hometown?
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, wow. So I'm sure you heard about the Wright brothers, right?
Hey, oh yeah.
Did you fly in their backyard?
Sorry?
Did you fly in their backyard, in their airport?
Not yet. We need to go down and see Hill Double Hill.
Very good. Thank you so much, Nick. We look forward to seeing you. How about you, Grace?
Alrighty. Good afternoon. My name is Grace. I am an incoming freshman this fall, and currently am a student pilot working towards my private pilot's license with ambitions to join the military.
Wonderful. We do have an ROTC that you can join ROTC and go in that route. So where is your hometown?
I am from Vacaville, California, so
Okay.
about 2 hours away.
All right, I know where they are. Very good. Thank you so much. So yeah, keep on finishing up your license. Do you think you're going to have your license by the time you join San Jose State? Your private?
I believe I'm working towards soloing in the next 2 months, so hopefully
Okay.
by the end of this year.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we look forward to having you. Next person is Alex. Alex, you want to introduce yourself? Alex. Okay, Alex, I can see you.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
So you're going to be an incoming freshman, right?
No, I'm a transfer student.
Oh, transfer students. Okay, where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Glendale Community College.
In Southern California?
Yes, it's
Great.
in Glendale, California, Los Angeles.
Okay, I like Glendale. It's a nice place.
Yes, it is.
Very good.
So I couldn't get any flight hours due to COVID. So I had 2 hours and then they stopped me. So I'm coming into San Jose looking to get more hours.
So Alex, it is true because we had the same situation. So mid-March of last year, they stopped everything. And then we worked very hard with our university staff as well as our flight to schools, and they opened up in fall semester. So students were able to go back and start flying. We had to give them special goggles and face mask, everything else. So we look forward to seeing you on campus next fall then.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, we should be semi-open. So I'll talk about what the plans are. Everything is still fluid. We haven't really, university has not made the final decision, but at least we have some idea that we can share with you.
Yeah, since they didn't give me my hours, I actually got a degree, an aviation administration degree at Glendale Community College.
Okay, so when you come here, we have to look at, so do me a favor. If you like, you can send your transcript to me. I can review it and find out how many courses you have completed that is applicable to our program.
Okay.
I would be happy to do it to at least give you an idea. You look forward to seeing you as a transfer student next year. Okay, thanks so much. Aaron, you want to tell us about yourself? Aaron Lee.
Hello.
Hello. You want to show your face?
My room's kind of a mess, but let me turn on my camera.
That's okay. Everybody's room is like that, except mine. You see the big picture in the back? This airplane belongs to our department. And you see the tail number, N as in November 360. You can do a YouTube, check it out. So this was donated to our program almost 2 years ago. It's, you guys know where Moffett Field is? In Mountain View? It's parked there, so I would be happy to take you there for a tour. This is an event, it's called Go Fly, which was held last year in February before the pandemic. And it was a big draw at NASA Ames. Many of our students showed up to help me. As you can see, that's the little tiny tent is the aviation tent that we normally try to promote our program. And all these kids and their parents were trying to get into the plane so they could see the inside of a executive jet. So it's a Bombardier Challenger 601L. Okay, so Aaron, tell me more about yourselves.
Well, first off, hello.
Hello.
I am a transfer student from Pasadena City College, right next door to Glendale Community College. I have no pilot's licenses yet, but I am planning to at TradeView. I got basically all my lower division classes all done. All of my like physics, chem, econ, I've done calc, I've done all of that. So I'll be transferring solely doing aviation classes specifically.
Excellent. So we have a good program. I don't know if you guys know or not, we are ranked #1 aviation program on the West Coast of the US, including California. We are #4 nationally after Purdue, Ohio State, North Dakota. It's San Jose State #4. There was a new listing that came out, includes MIT, as MIT is #1. We are #10 on that list. So I'm really excited about our program. So you should be very proud to join San Jose State University. Thank you so much, Aaron. So we look forward to seeing you. Next person would be Verbit. Verbit, can you hear me? And would you mind showing your picture, your face? No? Okay, we go to Dan Orteza. How about you, Dan?
Hello. Can't really show my picture because my camera is kind of broken.
All right, no problem, Dan. So what is your situation, Dan? Are you a transfer or freshman?
I'm a transfer student. I just recently got out of the military with a, yo, yeah, pretty much out of the military. I got
Okay,
a private knowledge test from the military, but was not certified in the aircraft. Only flew drones for them. I
okay.
also did air traffic control for them for at least 3.5 years, and I'm pretty much here now.
Very good. Excellent. We are very happy to see you join our program. So you're coming as a transfer student and you might have taken some other courses in military, right? So we could probably consider those possibly as a credit towards your degree. Welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Is Justin available? Justin Chow.
Hello, and okay. Hi, I'm Justin. Good afternoon, sorry. Um, I am a incoming freshman, and I have not done any flight hours or anything yet, but I do plan once this whole ongoing crisis has died down a
Okay.
bit.
And where is your hometown?
I'm from Sunnyvale, California, so
Okay,
just right next door.
it's not too far.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you, Justin. Let me see. Is Verbet available or not yet? Okay, we got to Jesse Vega.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Jesse. Hi, everybody. I'm from Murrieta, California. I came from Vista Murrieta High School. I'm gonna be a freshman. I have no flight hours yet, so I plan on starting my career in aviation at San Jose.
We look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much.
You-
Very good. Thank you. Is Aaron Lee? No, we talked to Aaron already, right? Yeah. We talked to Alex. My screen things are changing, so it's difficult to catch up. Okay. Who is a G Blanche? Is that a G?
Yes, hi. Actually, I'm the parent. My child had to go to work, so
No
I was
problem.
wondering if this would be recorded, but he's an incoming freshman from Chatsworth, California, so not far from some of the other Glendale, and I forgot the other city. And he's just done a couple flying lessons for fun, so.
Thank you so much for joining us. He has made a good decision to send your son to our school. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So let me introduce Professor Neil. Professor Dan Neil is also on list, and he is the academic advisor for our program, the aviation program. He's also a graduate of our program, and he's been teaching for us for many years. And you guys would be very blessed to have him as your instructor later on. Professor Neil, would you like to say a few things? Welcome to the students. We cannot hear you. You are muted.
There, how about that?
That's
Thank you
better.
very much. Warm welcome, Fred. I agree with all you're saying. It's a great thing to see freshmen coming in, and I hope you have a great start. I'm really looking forward to having students back in person, so that will be great. And those of you who are flying, yes, please get as much progress as you can going this summer before you start. It always takes longer than we want it to for you to get your ratings. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Neil. Let me also quickly introduce a couple of our students that have joined us. Boris, you want to say a few things?
Yes, hello. My name is Boris. I apologize, I don't have a camera. I'm using a desktop. I tried to pull up a picture on my profile. I couldn't figure it out, so sorry. But yes, I guess I'm a senior, and I'll be co-captain of flight team next year. I've been on flight team all 4 years, and Akshay is the current co-captain. He will be captain next year. And I'd like to introduce him. He does have to go pretty soon.
Okay.
So if he could talk about flight team, and then I can answer any follow-up questions or talk about it some more afterwards.
Very well. Okay, go ahead, Dan. Actually.
Hi there. Sorry, my name is Akshay. I've been on flight team for 4 years, like Boris. Currently a third year at San Jose State. I have my CFI, and basically I just wanted to introduce flight team and kind of who we are, what we do. Basically, we're just a bunch of students, not necessarily aviation students, really anyone just interested in aviation as a whole. And what we do is our main goal is safety. So we go out to a couple different competitions held by a organization called NIFA, stands for National Intercollegiate Flying Association. And we go to competitions in the Midwest. We've been out to Arizona, out to Wisconsin. I think Boris has gone out to Ohio as well for these competitions. And what these competitions are basically safety competitions. And they have events that are really focused on pilot skill, knowledge, and overall safety. So one of these events that we compete in is probably one of the more popular ones is landings, where it's a precision landing event. They have a line drawn on the runway, and we do our best to kind of land on that line. But we also have events that are not in the aircraft, and we accept everyone who's not even a pilot. If you're working towards ratings, we could definitely use you on the team. And some of those ground-based events are a little bit more geared towards knowledge. One of the big ones is simulated comprehensive aircraft navigation, and it's kind of like a knowledge test. It's based on a cross-country flight, and it's a lot of aviation knowledge that goes into that. So kind of events like that are what we specialize in. It's really good practice, especially if those of you interested in aviation or are working towards some of your ratings. It'd be really good to have you kind of come and experience a little bit more active participation in the industry. Also, it's a really good networking tool. We do have people who have gone off to the military, getting jobs now in Surf Air and some of the other kind of 135, working their way to the airlines. So it'd be really nice to see all of you there. Have time to answer any questions you might have as well.
Actually, did you start as a freshman or a transfer student?
So I started at San Jose State as a freshman. Like I think Nick, I came in with my private pilot's license, and I really wasn't too interested in aviation at the time, but I did find the flight team, and they really encouraged me and kind of helped me find my passion. So, you know, I went through my ratings. I got my instrument over here at San Jose State, and then I went through commercial and CFI as well. Now I'm working on my double I. So it's definitely helped me a lot.
So could you share your experience as a freshman coming in? Did you have good advising? And when did you take your first flight lessons, like Aviation 3, your private?
So I'm actually not in the aviation major.
Okay.
I did come in and work really close with the department as part of flight team. But I think Boris might be able to elaborate more on aviation specific stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Boris, did you start as a freshman or a transfer?
I'm a transfer student. I
Okay.
transferred from De Anza.
Okay. So what experience did you have at San Jose State when you started as a transfer? When did you take your Aviation 3, or did you have your private already when you came?
I almost finished my private when I came in, and about a month or so into the semester, I earned my private from Livermore, Red Sky Aviation. So I started as a Part 61 student. I thought the experience was quite good. Personally, I'm not a very strong student, but the department felt very much like a family. So I'd say it was a very good experience, and actually my grades were very good. So yeah, I think when you study your passion, it also teaches you how to learn, and I think that's what I went through. And everyone at the department was very supportive. Flight team is not just a team that goes out to competition. They also they have a good social aspect that they bring. And since most people there take their flying very seriously, they're always willing to help one another, check ride preparation, etc.
Thank you, Boris. One of the things that we really have in our department, I've been the department chair for aviation and technology. We have two different programs. I've been the department chair for this department, in particular the aviation program, for the past 5 years, but I've been at San Jose State University for 35 years, previously in mechanical and aerospace. One thing I really have enjoyed is the tight bond between the students in the aviation program. It's just unbelievable. Anytime I need some help, like today's event, I call up one or two and they all show up with a few other students to help me out. One of the other things that I do is, in order to promote our program, we attend open houses at various airports. The airport that we're close to and we have a facility at is called Reed Hillview Airport. REID, Hill, HILLVU Airport. It's in East San Jose. It's one of the county airports. We have a 5,000 square feet hangar that we have a few airplanes there. And we have offices, we have classrooms, kitchen, bathrooms. So it's a nice place for the students to hang out. Besides that, on campus, we also have a club room for the students. So we normally participated at open houses at Reed Hillview Airport, Palo Alto Airport, San Carlos, and Hayward. And you see that airplane in the back that I said I received as a donation. Anytime I go to these airports, I ask people if they have an airplane to donate, and lo and behold, I've received 3 so far. So just something you should learn would be never be shy. Ask if you need something. The answer would be yes, you can have it, or they would say no, you can't have it. So, but it's not going to harm unless you ask. One thing that the aviation students do, besides being like a family, and they attend these competitions. We have a lot of awards. I can't wait to show you the awards that they have in the department, in the labs that we have put all the trophies, especially for the flight team that actually and Boris were talking about. There are regional competition. They're either held at San Jose State University in San Jose or at Embry-Riddle in Prescott, Arizona. Then there's the national. National rotates between someplace in Purdue, Ohio, and Indiana. And over the past couple of years has been at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. But unfortunately, we did not participate last year because of the pandemic. And university and a few other places are not allowing us to participate this year. So I'm very sad that the students will not have that opportunity, but it's a way of life. We have to deal with it. So the students are wonderful. One thing that the students in aviation impressed me was when I became department chair, my office is across from the flight simulation lab. And it was like a Friday at 5:15. I noticed the lights came on. I could see from my office. I rush over there and say, who's coming in? And I see all these students waiting at the door to come in. And I said, what's going on in here? They said, oh, we are a bunch of students in the aviation program. We are here to use the simulators. We are seniors and juniors, and we are here to teach freshmen and sophomores how to use the simulator and accrue hours, because you can actually get hours using a flight simulator towards your 1,500 hours or 1,000 hours. I'm going to let Professor Neil later on talk about the difference between 1,000 hours to get to be eligible to apply for a commercial flight, being a pilot, versus 1,500 versus 1,000 hours. So Dan, would you like to talk, comment on that, or maybe later?
Let's try to circle back on that, Fred, and do it later. So
No problem. Okay, all right. So let's go through the students. So is Berbit available or not yet? Okay, is Alicia Arnold. Alicia, do you want to introduce yourself? Where you come from, which school? Are you freshman or transfer? Alicia?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I can't really turn on my camera right now because I'm at the airport actually for my flight lessons.
Good for
So,
you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm an incoming freshman and I want to major in professional flight.
Okay.
And right now I'm at the airport, Compton Airport, trying to get my pilot's license right now. So that's going on.
You said Concord Airline Airport?
Compton Airport.
Compton, okay, Compton, okay, all right.
Mhm.
Very good. Well, we look forward to seeing you in fall semester. And if you're going to be around, then we can explain how the process is going to look like for the classes, whether or not it's going to be in person or otherwise. So I'll talk to you later then. Thank you so much, Alicia. Is Jesse Pajardo there? Jesse?
Yes, I am. I'm a freshman and I'm gonna major in professional flight too as well.
And where are you coming from? Where is your hometown?
It's San Clemente, California.
Okay, San Clemente. Very good. Okay, so you haven't had any flight hours, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, you'll be in good hands at San Jose State University. Jesus, you want to talk about yourself? I don't see any last name.
I'm Mrs. Nettie, and I'm currently a senior. I'll be an upcoming freshman.
Okay.
Oh no,
Where is your hometown?
Salinas.
Okay. And do you have any flights, flight hours?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay, got it. All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you in fall. Is Russell there?
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, tell us about yourself, Russell.
Yeah, I'm from Maui, Hawaii, and I'll be coming in as a freshman next fall. And I do have my private pilot license that I got from Fly Maui Flight School.
Very good. We have a couple of other students from Hawaii in our program, so that's excellent. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much, Russell. Is Shanti? Is Shanti available? Okay, we move on to Tisha. Tisha, you want to introduce yourself? Go ahead, Tisha. Hello? Hello? Okay, we come back to you. Is Denver?
now?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. Thank you, Tisha. Are you a freshman or transfer?
Yeah, I'll be incoming freshman this fall, and I don't have any flight hours because I'm still in high school.
Okay. And where is your hometown?
I live in Hayward,
Okay.
in Bay Area. Yeah.
Did you ever go to Hayward Airport, Executive Airport?
No, not yet, because I've just moved to Hayward like 1 year ago, so
Okay.
I'm just exploring. So
Well, the supervisor or assistant supervisor at Hayward, her name is Pam. She's a graduate of our program. So you will be impressed with the number of graduates of our program that are either pilots or in top management positions, at least in the Bay Area and elsewhere. So if you ever get a chance to go to the airport, look for Pam. Say, I'm here. I would like to get a hold of Pam. She's the assistant supervisor at the airport. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you in fall.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Shanti? No answer? Okay. How about Denver Tang? Denver, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You want me to say something about the department?
Yeah, sure. Tell us if did you enter SGSU as a freshman or as a transfer?
I actually entered as a freshman, straight out of high school.
Okay. So
I'm a sophomore right now.
Okay, sophomore.
It's my second year.
Okay. So maybe it would be a good point of contact to explain to the students what your first was all about and when did you take your first private lessons?
I actually started lessons just like literally like a week before school started. Like for me as a freshman, I did my introductory flight actually 4 months before that.
Okay.
I wouldn't count that as a lesson. So I would say like I started like literally right before school started.
But have you completed your private?
Yes, I actually completed it this semester, like at the start.
Okay,
like 3 months ago.
Okay, wonderful. Very happy to hear that, Denver. So as a freshman, what would you advise to our freshmen that they should consider taking the first semester?
Ideally, the first semester, I think I made a mistake of poor planning for my classes. Make sure you select classes that you can leave a lot of time slots open to go fly, because I didn't do that. So that severely hindered my progress. So that's one thing I would say. And when you are doing your flying, make sure you actually plan out your training with your instructor, so you're not just going there not knowing what to do. And that actually ended up costing me quite a bit of time and money. So I don't want anybody having to go through that.
So this is something we're going to discuss in a few minutes, and this is for G. Blanche, that she is here on behalf of her son. And we're going to let you know what we need to do to make sure that you guys stay on track towards successful graduation without wasting parents' money and even yourself. So thank you so much, Denver. I'm sure, are you going to be around just in case the students have questions to ask you?
Yeah, I'll be around till the end of the meeting.
Okay, super. We have another half an hour. Hopefully everybody has a chance to ask questions.
All right.
Actually, you're leaving?
I do. I have a student soon.
All right.
Head out to the airport.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Bye-bye. Grace, would you like to say a few things?
I am certainly just excited to have been selected to be a part of this program. Sorry, I'm outside and there's construction going on, but I've definitely taken a lot of notes, and I'm very excited for this fall.
We're going to give you a lot more that you're going to be taking notes. So are you going to be a freshman then?
Yes, sir.
And hometown? Where is your hometown?
Oh, I'm from Vacaville, sir. I
Oh,
actually introduced myself earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I called you back again. Okay, thank you so much. It's good to see you. Alicia Arnold, did I talk to Alicia? Yeah, I did talk to Alicia Arnold. Jesus, we talked to Jesus. Anybody I did not call upon? Anybody?
Me, Renzo.
Renzo, okay, very good. Go ahead, Renzo. Please let us know.
Oh, I'm a transfer from De Anza College. Currently right now I'm taking spring classes at De Anza, but already admitted to a fall class in San Jose State. So right now I live in Milpitas, California, but my
Okay.
hometown is Manila, Philippines. So I'm pretty close to the East San Jose, where the campus is, the San
Very
Jose
good.
Aviation, because I can see it in Eastridge. I see all those small aircrafts flying around, so I'm pretty close.
I got to tell you, Reed Hillview, where we have our facility, our aviation facility, it's one of the busiest airports in this area. It's not for huge jets, but it's just for small planes, maybe single engine and sometimes twin engines. So, all right. Anybody else that they would like to introduce themselves? All right. So let me see. Professor Neal, are you ready to say a few comments regarding advising?
Here we go. So everyone that I'm listening to says, is giving me a similar story. So what I'd like to do is mention to you, if you're doing the flight program, to make sure, as Boris mentioned, it takes more time than you'd like. So when you start training, if you think about it, the average student takes about 60 training hours to get their private pilot certificate. So if you come to San Jose State and start flying in May when the semester starts, 15 weeks later, you'll have about 60 hours if you're flying 4 times a week. And I know that it's a daunting task for our students to fly 4 times a week. It very rarely works. So my advice to you is to pay close attention to it. Try to get out as many times as you can. As Boris pointed out, and Akshay, get a training plan going with your instructor so you have a curriculum. They have a curriculum mapped out, but sometimes they don't share that with you up front like they should. And you should know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, what you're supposed to be prepared for. And the other advice, and try not to cringe, Dr. Perez, is try taking a lighter load than you thought about on whatever semester you start your training in. Lighten up your academic load a little bit, and then just take a summer class to make up the units. So what we want is, our dean says, the 15-unit plan. If you take 15 units every semester, you'll finish in 4 years. And that's absolutely true. But if you took 12 units and then took a summer class or 2 summer classes, and then kept your flight training up, you'll still average to 15 units, but you'll have a better option at training. And when you say, oh, it's a big daunting task, well, think about this. If you're at main campus and you finish a class and then you hop in your car or get the bus and go over to Reed Hillview Airport and meet with your flight instructor, you get the plane out, you go through what you're gonna, what the lesson is that day, and you do your pre-flight inspection, and then you go fly, and then for an hour, usually it's an hour flight, sometimes more, and then you land, park it, your instructor usually walks in and says, okay, put the plane away, so you're out there pushing it around and tying it down and making sure it's refueled for the next student, and then you come in and meet with your instructor to go through the after action, and then you go back to main campus, and that end-to-end session is probably going to take you 3 to 4 hours. So that 3 or 4 times a week is more work than you're going to put in on a normal class. So just keep that one in mind. But and I'm not trying to discourage you. What I'm trying to do is encourage you to fly more and get it done as quickly as you can. And by the way, for your parents out there, flying more will get you through in less total time. So you won't get rusty, you won't lose the skill sets, and your instructor is going to work through all these different skill mastery of different skill sets. And when you learn to do something, they're going to move on and do the next thing. And it'll be like start out with startup and taxi, and then it's going to be radio communications. And every time you do a new thing, and then you're going to start takeoffs and landings. And every time you're doing the next phase, you're still doing the other things for that instructor. So you're demonstrating those skills every time until you master all of the required skills for your rating. And then you'll take a check ride. And that's a big nerve-wracking thing because you have to demonstrate those skills for someone that's completely unfamiliar to you. And it's the examiner. So it's really good. It's a great experience. But if you fly once a week, every time you go back, those skills get rusty and they're going to say, okay, how do I do those radio communications again? It's going to take you twice as long if you do it at the slow pace. If you push through fast, you won't lose those skills every time you make the lesson. So it'll go much more quickly for you. So that's my advice.
Thank you so much, Professor Neal. So as Professor Neal indicated, so when you come to San Jose State University, actually you can look online. We have what we refer to as roadmap. This is a list of courses you need to take over the next, say, 4 years or 5 years. It's a set number of units. It's about 120 units. We currently have 4 options. Professional flight leads into becoming a pilot. We have aviation management. We have airline operations. And we have maintenance management. 95% of the students that they come to San Jose State University, they would like to become pilots. But as you heard from Professor Neal and Boris and Denver, sometimes you get too busy, you're not able to fly, or you run out of money, you're unable to pay for your flight lessons. Then the students switch from professional flight to perhaps airline operations, which is fine. So the question is, if you want to learn how to fly for the sake of becoming a pilot for an airline, or you would just like to become a pilot as a hobby and enjoy flying. So these are the things. So you need to stick to the schedule that we have. And Professor Neal is absolutely right. The 4-year plan shows that you're supposed to take 14 units, 15 units each semester, but take a light load. I know many of you probably need to have the financial aid, so you could stick to like 12 units per semester. Our program is one of the most cost-effective aviation program you can find in this country. As a domestic student, it's going to be domestic, meaning from California, being a California resident. It's going to cost you about $74,000 for 4 years, including tuition you pay about $3,900 per semester, and something like $45,000 for the flight lessons that you need to take. If you come to San Jose State University with your private, then you don't have to take one of those flight lessons, so you can save $15,000. You still need to attend classes that are scheduled, not on a weekly basis, but periodically. You need to inform the instructor of what you are doing, because bottom line, especially if you want to be a professional pilot, you really need to be a mature, responsible professional. You're going to be the pilot of a plane that I'm going to be flying with you, and I'm going to put my life in your hands. And I want to make sure that you are truly and ethically responsible for my flight going from San Francisco to Chicago, for example. So being responsible, being ethical, being professional is very important. And that's something that Professor Craig Hofstadter, who is the instructor for the professional flight classes, will talk to you. So regarding the expenses, we do have some scholarships. Our department is blessed to have a number of scholarships. We gave $57,000 worth of a scholarship to our students in aviation program last year. They vary from $500 to $10,000. Especially the $10,000 usually goes to a person who wants to be in the professional flight, because the family who gave the scholarship, provided the scholarship funding, they understand the cost of flight. So some of those scholarships, if you go to our website, you should be able to find the scholarships, and some of those are available to incoming freshmen and transfer students. You can apply for those. Of course, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it automatically. There will be a committee that's going to review all the applications, and they will give rewards. So we are excited to have you. So I'm going to open it up for you guys to ask questions from Professor Neil, from Boris, and from Denver, and myself. Feel free to ask questions.
Dr. Burrows, there are a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Well, the first one was about the recording of the meeting and where it might be available.
It is being recorded right now, and it would be available through Senela. If you have any question, send it to me. I would direct you to the recording. Absolutely. Thanks for asking. So, Professor Neil, would you like to talk about our application for the Part 141 and the restricted ATP?
Sure. A lot of students are coming to San Jose State or to any of the other schools for the restricted ATP, and that's a new program for us. So for that, and there's a whole bunch of questions about, can I train elsewhere? Can I come to that? So the restricted ATP is a program where a few years ago, the FAA increased the requirements to get an airline transport pilot certificate. And it was 1,250 hours, and they upped it to 1,500, but then they circled back and said, certified schools like San Jose State and University of North Dakota and Ohio State can have their graduates get a restricted airline transport pilot rating at 1,000 hours, and if they complete the degree program. And the training has to be done in a very particular fashion, and that's the internal training program. So what we're working on now, we're in the final throes of getting that institutional authority from the FAA. So you guys, when you graduate, will be able to use that. If the FAA doesn't particularly care where you get your private pilot certificate, but the advanced ratings have to be done within our program. So the instrument rating and the commercial certificate have to be done at one of the two flight schools that we use at San Jose State, training under FAR Part 141. And that's if you're not familiar with those terms, there's two different mechanisms that the FAA has for earning pilot certificates. One is Part 61. That's what Boris mentioned. He said I trained at a Part 61 school. And the other one is Part 141. Part 61 is just, generally speaking, instructors have their own curriculum. You fly with an instructor, and that instructor deems that you're ready for the check ride. The curriculum is very similar. At the 141 programs, the school has the certificate. So the school itself has the training curriculum. Every instructor uses the same curriculum. And you also have to do phase checks, which means that at some point and there's usually 5 or so phase checks depending on the school. Once you get to certain stages of training, you have to go out and fly with the chief flight instructor for a check ride. That's designed to make you feel nervous, and it's like simulating a check ride like you would have with the FAA. And you do that about 5 times. By the time you're ready for your certificate, you'll have ridden with the chief instructor on 5 different phase checks. And at that point, if anything happens, like your instructor moves on and goes off to become an airline pilot and you change instructors, the new one is going to be following precisely the same curriculum. You won't lose any ground. The school is monitored by the FAA. The airplanes are monitored by the FAA. So in terms of maintenance practices, they're subject to audit. So the airplanes are, the FAA can walk in at any time and say, we'd like to go through this airplane's records and we'd like to see that airplane. So you have a reasonable assurance that the maintenance practices of that flight school are going to be really strong, and that the training curriculum, they have the same audit for the training curriculum. So if there's ever problems, or if they change it, the FAA has to approve those changes. So it'll be a very lockstep program. And those 141 programs do allow you to get through in lower numbers of hours. And if you do the training in the Part 141 school, which at San Jose State, we use two of the schools that are at Reed Hillview Airport. One is Tradewinds Aviation, and the other is Squadron 2. And they're both very well-respected schools with really good safety records, which is why we chose them. And so that's where you should be going if you intend to do the restricted ATP. Some students come along and they already have lots of ratings. They already have their private and their instrument. And if you did that, my advice to you would be not to go to the 141 school. It would be to finish your commercial certificate in the exact same way that you're doing it now. And because the one downfall to 141 schools is they don't allow you to shift between schools well. They're designed for you to start at one and finish there. And if you'll lose ground, and they can't count all of your prior training hours when you come in. So if you came in with an instrument rating and said, I want to do my commercial under Part 141, they're only allowed to count a small fraction of the hours you have logged. So just to kind of explain what it means is the chief instructor at Squadron 2 explained it to me once. And he said, if you show up with your instrument rating and you have 100 flight hours or 150 flight hours, we'll prepare you for your commercial certificate. It'll take us about 50 hours to do it. And so you'll have 200 hours of logged time. And you're expecting me to sign a letter saying I trained you for 200 hours, but I didn't train you for 200 hours. I trained you for 50 hours. So they're not allowed to do that. So, but those students can still come through the program and still get university credit for their flight ratings. They just won't be eligible for the restricted ATP. So I hope that makes sense to everyone.
So a couple of questions in here. Tisha, I explained that scholarships are available. I know Boris also responded, but we have some scholarships that are available to freshmen, entering freshmen, and perhaps entering transfer students. So that's available. There was a question regarding the GI Bill. We do have a veterans office on campus, and the GI Bill, as Professor Neal indicated, it pays, or at least it helps with the payment of the tuition on campus. In rare cases, if you can work out with the Veterans Office on campus, they can probably make arrangements so that they would apply some of that money towards the flight schools. Now, as Professor Neal indicated, we have two flight schools that we consider our affiliate flight schools. And there was a comment regarding restricted ATP. So if you go to San Jose State University and you take your last two flight classes like instrument and commercial at one of the two flight schools, you will be eligible to apply for a commercial pilot job at United, Southwest, American after 1,000 hours. Otherwise, if you don't go to a San Jose State University, that requires maybe 1,500 hours. So the fact that you attend San Jose State University and you take your flight lessons, it's going to reduce the number of hours to apply for a commercial by 500 hours. And typically, as you probably know, it's expensive to fly. So 500 hours times almost 250, that's a lot of money that you're going to be saving. So San Jose State University would be a terrific place. As I said, if you are a California resident, you go to San Jose State University and you take all three flight classes, it's going to be about $74,000. If you go to other universities like Embry-Riddle or North Dakota, it's going to cost you $74,000 per year. That's a big savings. And I got to tell you, if you ever see a pilot, ask him, where did you have your studies? Most of them are going to say, oh, I went to San Jose State University. Our program used to be called aeronautics, and it was the training grounds for the pilots in World War II. Our program is 86 years old. College of Engineering, where we are a department in the College of Engineering. College of Engineering is about 75 years old. So aviation is a lot older. It's been around for many, many years. We have a terrific reputation, and we are building relationship with airlines. One thing we are going to be doing soon, starting next fall, we are going to be offering a course called CFI. So you learn how to become a flight instructor. So you might be like a junior and you already have had enough training so you could become a CFI. You can start teaching and you can accumulate those hours towards your 1,000 hours to apply for a commercial position. Let me see, I'm looking at, so the COVID restrictions, everything has been removed, Alex. So at the present time, as I mentioned earlier, we have made arrangements through university and our flight school. So as long as you're wearing goggles, you're wearing face mask, you're allowed to fly. You heard Denver was talking about the fact he's been doing flight training. Denver, would you like to comment on your flight training during the pandemic?
Yeah, I actually would like to comment on one of the things you actually just said about the goggles. Because actually, for me, the goggles actually cause the safety of flight because I wear glasses. So if my glasses fog up and I have another set of them over top, I can't fly. But other than that, if I remove the glasses, everything is fine. But so how the pandemic actually started was I was getting ready, like any other day, getting ready to go to my lesson. I get a text from my flight instructor that says, "Hey, I'm not sure if I'll be coming in today." And I'm like, "Okay, fine, I'll just cancel the lesson." I'm like, "Oh, whatever." And just within hours, the CEO of Tradewinds emails everyone saying, "Hey guys, due to uncertain circumstances, I regret to inform you we have to close all our operations." So I couldn't fly for 3 months at that point, and I had to actually relearn how to land, which ended up costing me more time. But yeah, so the first day we went there, filled out a bunch of paperwork. I had to go into the airport, wipe everything down, and get my temperature checked, and then go on from there. And that's what we've been doing since that day.
So when did you resume taking your flight lessons, Denver?
Oh, okay. So yeah, it was March was when I got shut down, like mid-March, and then early June, that's when I started back up again. So around 3 months, I couldn't fly.
So did you start flying again in September?
Oh yeah, I continued through the summer. It took a while to get my private done, so it took like a year and a half.
Okay, okay, okay. Very good. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Professor Neal is answering some of your questions already. Please make sure you look at the chat area. There are a bunch of good questions and lots of good answers too. I'd like to hear from you guys. Go ahead and talk to us and ask questions. Anybody has any questions? I probably have to leave because since I'm the chair of the department, we have a technology program coming up at 12:30 to 1:30, so I need to join them, but I'll be here with another 5 minutes, then I will sign off. But I'd like you, so somebody asked whether or not we have a counselor for aviation. As I mentioned, Professor Dan Neal is the designated faculty advisor for aviation. Feel free to contact him if you have any question. You're welcome to contact me and Boris or Denver, anybody else. I think your questions are always welcome by the students. Nobody's going to say no. One thing I mentioned it to you earlier, I've seen nothing but camaraderie among our students in aviation. There is no competition among themselves. Everybody wants to help each other. So this is something that I, as the department chair, enjoy seeing our students. So we have a lot of good things happening in our program. Our enrollment is going up. We are very pleased to have you join our program. But be sure to stay in touch with Professor Neal as the designated faculty advisor. I'm there to help you too. Boris just put his phone number and his email address. You're welcome to contact him, especially for the students. Sometimes you may feel more comfortable talking to the students as opposed to the faculty, but we are all here to help you. We want you to succeed in 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, whatever it takes. That's the bottom line. We want to make sure that you're a proud graduate of our program, that you're going to be a pilot in one of the airlines. And I will be taking my flights in your, when you're piloting a 787 or something else. Probably by then, by the time you graduate, maybe it's a 797. Any questions?
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, you told me, you just discussed earlier that for the whole aviation program, it takes 4 years, right?
If you are coming as a freshman, yes.
I mean, yeah, but for me, I'm coming a transfer from the ANZA. Is it for the 4 years? Does it include the general ed classes? Because I already took all the general ed classes in the ANZA.
Absolutely, because when you transfer, we have a requirement for you to complete 120 units. The other requirement for you to come to San Jose State University is to have a minimum of 60 units. So if you transfer, you should be able to graduate within, say, 2 to 3 years. As Professor Neal commented earlier, you don't want to just take a lot of classes. I got to tell you, when it comes to advising, Professor Neal, myself, everybody else, we look at three numbers on the advising form that we have. We look at the number of units you're taking, the number of hours you're working, and we look at the number of your GPA. If these numbers are all very high, something is gonna drop very quickly. So 12 units per semester is reasonable if you want to work, because I know many of you guys need to work to have compensation to pay your tuition. So try not to do more than 15 hours per week, maybe 20 hours, and try to keep your GPA hopefully about 2.5 to 3, so you can succeed in your curriculum and earning your degree.
I was about to ask you about the minimum requirement for the GPA, because there was I think it was 2 years ago or like last year in Dianza. My current GPA right now is 3.3, so I don't know what's the minimum for transfer.
No, that you already have been transferred, right? You have been admitted, right?
Yeah, I've been admitted.
You're good. Don't worry about it. We'd love to have 3.3 GPAs. Yeah, it's fine.
all right,
No
thank you.
worries. No worries.
Okay.
You're in already.
All right.
Anybody else? Boris, you want to say something? Both Boris and Professor Neal, they put their email address in the chat, so make sure you write it down in case you have any questions.
Boris is typing an answer at the moment.
Yeah, I was typing an answer for Russell. There are scholarship opportunities, and some of them they come through the department. Some of them we actually learn through the clubs. Flight team is one of them, but there are 2 other clubs that are pretty active out in the community, and we go to different conferences and different events. The other clubs are Alpha Eta Rho, which is our business fraternity, and Women in Aviation, WIA. That's another club. And yeah, they go to conferences. Lastly, I'd like to say, yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to email or text me or call me. I left my information. And if you have questions about flight team or another thing, if you're not interested in RATP, I am part of a board on a Part 61 flight school at Reed Hillview. So if you are local and you're not in professional flight or professional flight, not interested in RATP, it's a very affordable flight school option, and it's exclusive to San Jose students, alumni, and faculty. So you guys already qualify. So if you are interested, please send me an email or text or call. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Boris. So
go ahead.
I was going to say, as Boris said, make sure you join one of these clubs, especially Society of, this is Women in Aviation. Department supports that particular group as well as others. So you guys can travel. As I said, over the past 2 years, things have been rough. Our students actually did go to the Women in Aviation conference, and then pandemic took place last year. It was in February. But the flight team was unable to go to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and they're not going to be able to go this year. But join these clubs. There are honorary clubs as well as various clubs. Become a member, join them, learn from each other. Professor Neal?
Oh, I was going to mention the club that Boris is mentioning is the Flying 20. That's a San Jose State affiliated flying club that has been in business since 1939. So right now they have 3 airplanes. They operate as a nonprofit, California nonprofit corporation, and the planes run at cost. So it's an excellent outlet. It is, however, not a Part 141 school, but you can use the Flying 20 in either of 2 different avenues. One is to train if you're training outside of Part 141. The other one is it's a good place to rent an airplane to fly after you get your rating. So if you want to take a trip or just go out and stay current, that's a great place to go.
Thank you so much, Professor Neal. So I look forward to having you in our program next year. Hopefully next year things will be improved and we can go to many of these airport open houses. And believe me, I'm going to be calling upon you to join me to go and promote our program. Welcome to San Jose State University. I got to go, but I'm sure Professor Neal and Boris and Denver will be available to talk to you. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day. See you soon.
Dr. Brett, before you sign off, will
Yeah.
you share the host so we don't kill the meeting? So, or who's
Yeah, just
hosting?
make one of us the host. Probably
Okay.
make Professor Neil the host.
This is actually done by San Jose State University, so I'm not the only one. I'm not the host.
Oh, good. So you can
Yeah,
sign off.
I
then.
can sign off, right.
Good.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.